got a damn good show. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord, we have a damn good show. Oh, Lord. Oh, we got a good show, Lord. Lord. I want you to help me now, Lord. Tell the people that we have a good show. Oh, Lord. Can I get an oh, Lord? Can I get an oh, Lord? Can I get a praise, Lord, that we have a good show? Hallelujah, do we have a good show? Hallelujah, and thank the great God of patriarchy. We have a good show with his only begotten Son, the Lord of patriarchy. Anywho, got a good show for you. Most of this episode, I'm going to get through this, and then we're going to deal with a video that I love the channel. But I'm sorry, there's no way Germany wins goddamn World War II. There is no fucking way. So now, brothers and sisters, praise be to the Almighty. Let's start the show. If I'm up, I might live stream it, but I might not be. Are Dems abandoning the fights for trans rights? This is from Sam Cedar. My question to Mr. Cedar is, what rights and privileges do trans people not have that I enjoy as a straight cis white male? Except, of course, the fact that I'm not going to play pretend with a trans woman. Would I go to dinner with Blair White? Absolutely. Movie? Sure. Amusement park? Sure. Ball game? Fine. Getting an ice cream cone? Cool. Getting a milkshake? Fine. Except separate milkshakes. There's just one thing I'm not gonna do. You know, give her a hug? Not a problem.
From a 315 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Oh my gosh. Hi, this is Lydia. I'm calling from Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Lydia from Nazareth. What's on your mind?
Well, first I want to thank you for playing Lara Trump after Tim Pool's dad, so I don't have to follow Tim Pool's dad. I can just follow Lara Trump.
There you go. There's nowhere but to go but up from here.
So I've actually been trying to call in for a little bit. I wanted to really, since like the after the DNC, I really wanted to talk, surprise, about some trans issues.
Can you get to the point?
Kind of how the LGBTQ community, but especially trans people, kind of got.
How much you want to bet? I bet between them, these two gentlemen here don't have a T count combined over 400.
The, short end of the stick, completely left off, basically. I think, Cory Booker and one other person actually, mentioned trans people, which is a really interesting, juxtaposition.
Again, what rights do I have that you, as a trans person, I presume, do not? Again, you can't mandate that you have a right to have me suck your fucking dick. Sorry, girl penises, not a thing.
Position to the RNC, which that y'all will recall, that's all they talked about was trans people the whole time. So I just feel like that's an interesting dichotomy, and that they can't even be bothered to mention.
Iron Gullet, were you just jerking off, or did you not hear my whole thing of, if I were to meet Blair White, go to lunch with her? Sure. Go to breakfast with her? Sure. Brunch? Sure. Dinner? Sure. Go to the amusement park, ball game, theater, movie theater, hang around at the house. Basically, the only thing I won't do with Blair White is A, kiss, B, have sex. Give her a hug? Sure, not a problem. Cuddling? How many beers am I into it?
What is it now? I think it's 537 anti-trans bills that are.
That's trans panic. Okay, fine. I guess it's just trans panic. I guess I just want to stick my dick in Blair White's asshole.
Throughout the states, and not even to mention.
Oh, yeah. I need to shoot that video, son of a bitch. Well, just in case I don't, James Earl Jones. Everybody raise your fucking glass of whatever you got.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the laws of trans panic because they don't exist. It's just I don't believe in things like lady dick. If you have a penis, you're male. You're off the list. Actually, I take the back. If you were born with a penis, you're off the list. You're male. Jazz Jennings, sorry, you're still male.
It was a really deliberate attempt, I think, to focus on abortion at the convention. Obviously, to not focus on Palestine, or trans issues, even though we know.
Again, like I said, I'll hang out with fucking Blair White. I'll hang out with any trans people as long as they're cool. The only other one I could think of off the top of my head was Riley Dennis, but I really don't want to hang around them. We can all sit and have a little poker game. I'll do any normal thing that I would do with any man and girl. There's just a certain set of activities that you actually have to be born with a cunt for me to do.
Know that the electoral consequences of doing so are not really a big deal. The Republicans,
says the loser who waits all day for me to stream,
that focused on trans issues lost a lot of their races in 2022. So you're seeing them focus a little less on it now. But the Democrats are running an
Isn't it funny? No matter what time I stream, I always get the same class of losers in here. You people have jobs.
Extremely safe campaign over since Kamala Harris has entered into the race, and it's a shame because we should be fighting on all of these fronts, and we can.
And you hear certain Democrats. One coming to mind is Cenk Uygur. But say that trans issues, running pro-trans issues, is a hindrance to a campaign when, like you said, Republicans have run on.
Wait, Jay Guger is not sufficiently pro-trans for you. Oh my God, I love this. The left is going to completely destroy itself. And even on the farther left, like Xander Hall, Vosh, and all that crew is just blowing up. They're all at each other's throats. Again, because the leftist ideology is based on a purity test. Fail one purity test, and you're out. Again, one of the earliest examples of this was Lindsay Ellis. She failed a purity test. This is why the right, in the end, is going to win. Our movement isn't based on purity tests. It's what do you believe? And if you believe differently, more often than not, a Trump supporter will talk to you and engage with you on the issues. A leftist will just scream at you and call you a fascist.
On that numerous times, and it has backfired every single time. So which is it? Is it,
Yeah.
It seems pretty obvious to me that,
There's no evidence for what those other commentators say.
There's no evidence for it, and I encourage you.
Well, again, if you, insulin shadow, whatever, if you got your head out of your own ass and left your bubble, what I said was correct.
Lydia, if you haven't, we've had Ettinger Mentum on the show a few times, but he wrote a piece that really, it was the first thing I've read of his, and now I read, I'm a subscriber to his Substack, but he did the electoral history of transphobia, I think it was a year ago, his article, where it just goes through this line by line, of all of these Republicans.
I gotta say Destiny, because Destiny has way more money, or had way more money, and one lost to a dude that's even more girly than him, and yes, such a thing is possible, but two, he paid for her fucking rent for 3 months while they were getting divorced.
Who ran on transphobia losing, because the reality is just that there isn't people when you poll issues.
We'll see what happens when everything blows up in you know whose face.
Like say should trans women be able to participate in sports? You're not going to probably get a great.
Not against women. They can do against men. Not against women, because it's not fair. Against men, got no problem with it.
Great answer from the general public. They're gonna be, it's gonna be transphobic to a degree. They're not gonna have a full understanding of it. But when you go to
Jesus Christ, I just debated someone 2 days ago. That's it. I'm done with the chat for a while.
Do people vote on? It's not this. There's a difference. No. I mean, you can see, okay, so, many gun control measures pull over 80%.
I didn't fucking debate someone 2 days ago. Yes, I did. Fuck off.
At 90%, right? Background checks or banning assault rifles is very popular. But why don't those issues have, the same electoral salience? It's because people who are gun rights nuts are the ones who are motivated to vote on that issue. And mostly people who haven't experienced, gun violence don't vote specifically on that issue.
Trans men aren't men. But I don't have the same issues I have with them that I do with trans women. Hey, if trans men want to use our bathroom, fine. You're not gonna like it.
issue, and if
Well, not if he has to talk to me while I'm on my show. Tough shit.
they're voting for Democrats anyway.
And I don't prescribe to your rules, so there's that.
And so, I guess this is a long-winded way of saying the Democrats could be fighting this war more aggressively, but they're choosing not to.
Yeah, rich people don't like it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think you also have to be careful about a lot of, commentators will project their own insecurities and their own anxieties around certain issues onto a theoretical voting base without actually checking if that's the case. Not to mention just how different, like Emma.
Trans people make up less than 1% of the population. Nobody should be concerned about their voting base. They don't matter. All right, now we're going to get to the main event of the video, and the sub-main event I almost included in the title. But, this one is quite long, so the only way Germany could have won World War II. Now, this is from the Alternate History Hub. I love the Alternate History Hub. I've been a fan, subscriber. But there is no goddamn way Hitler wins this war.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder. Find out more later in the video. We've heard it a million times before. Germany wins the Battle of Britain, or Stalingrad, or magically gets its hands.
Even if Germany had won the Battle of Stalingrad, they still lose the Eastern Campaign. See, here's the thing. Hitler thought Russia was like France. And at the time, France, if you captured Paris, you captured the country. Russia was a lot more like us, where, okay, you caught Moscow. Guess what? Napoleon did it. Look how well that worked out for him, jackass. And if they... No, there's no way, because... whatever.
Hands on nukes before the Allies do, winning World War II.
No, they wouldn't have had nukes.
Right. The truth is, despite being the most popular topic that most people associate alternate history with, there is hardly a single one of these scenarios which is based in reality. I'm talking about a reasonable timeline, one that doesn't massively alter major decisions or bring in the alien space bats. What if there was a scenario where the push of one small domino cascades into a German victory? Well, Jimmy, after digging through countless archives, I think I have an idea.
Alright.
So, a quick recap. After years of preparation and careful annexation under the Allies' policy of appeasement, Mustache Man, that's what we're calling him for this video, is ready to take things further. Germany rolls over Poland in September 1939, with the Soviets joining in for a good old partition. That November, the Soviets invaded Finland in the winter, and the following April, Germany rolls through Denmark and Norway. But then, the unimaginable happened. Well, it's pretty imaginable now because we know what happened. On May 10th, 1940, Germany launched a blitzkrieg attacking the Netherlands, Belgium, and France with its entire might. The same day Winston Churchill took office. What took Germany years to take back in World War I was accomplished in 2 weeks. Despite fierce resistance, the Maginot Line, and the nearly 400,000 strong British Expeditionary Force, Paris fell in 35 days. This outcome was shocking, not only to the Allies, but the German high command as well. In fact, Rommel disobeyed direct orders and used his panzers to cut off a huge portion of troops, pressing them against the English Channel. This rapid advance threatened to overextend the German line, as infantry was struggling to keep up with their tanks, many of which were starting to run out of fuel. That is when an order was given, an order to halt the advance against the port city of Dunkirk on May 24th, to the astonishment of the ground generals who wanted to press their advantage. I think you can see where I'm going with this. Nearly 500,000 Allied personnel were trapped in this tight pocket, awaiting evacuation, and Mustache Man decided to bomb.
Okay, the importance of the whole Dunkirk thing has been pretty much overblown. Right? This doesn't get Hitler into Britain, which is what he needs. Because at the end of it, he still controls all the French coastline.
Them like fish in a barrel, using the Luftwaffe, which had complete air superiority, fearing an Allied counterattack. 2 days later, the decision was reversed. But this delay, plus a change of command, gave precious time for the miracle of Dunkirk to happen. The waters around Dunkirk were too shallow, so hundreds of civilian boats and a few destroyers were deployed. And in the course of 9 days, the brave last-stand resistance from the French and Belgian forces allowed for 338,000 troops.
Again, even if Dunkirk doesn't happen, even if they're massacred, that doesn't really topple the outcome of the war.
Troops to be rescued back to Britain. You've probably heard that story before, but what rarely gets mentioned here is the weather. You see, out of those 9 days, just 2 had optimal flying conditions, which resulted in staggering losses for the Allies, including the loss of 9 warships. But what do I mean by bad weather conditions? Well, Jimmy, I could tell you, or I could let you experience that for yourself thanks to the sponsor of today's video.
Alright, I'm skipping over the commercials. Sorry, but...
A counterattack, and picking out both men and precious ships from the Royal Navy isn't a bad one. So I wouldn't really change that controversial order, which was withdrawn anyway 2 days later. What I would change, however, is the weather. Britain held a lot of their fighter planes back, afraid of a direct attack from the German Air Force, meaning that all those evacuation vessels would become easy pickings for the Luftwaffe. Panic ensues, and fearing that there's
No... Okay, they might be easy pickings. Here's the thing, though. The British RAF was a lot more like the Americans, where all their airplanes had interchangeable parts and could be easily disassembled, reassembled, or scrapped. Okay? Or repaired or scrapped for parts. You get the point. German planes and tanks were way more meticulously designed and took way longer to repair. That's the only reason the British won the Battle of Britain. Any part of any plane could be used in any other plane.
no way out, a huge portion of the expeditionary force simply takes up arms, joins the French, and fights back. What we see is bogged down urban warfare, where thousands die on both sides. But ultimately, the pocket is squeezed in. As in our timeline, the Belgian King Leopold issues his unconditional surrender on May 28th, and within a week, almost everyone at Dunkirk is either dead or captured. Sure, some would be evacuated and live to fight another day, but consider this. On the first day of the evacuation, with very limited pressure from the Germans, only 7,600 soldiers were ferried across the channel. At best, I'd say no more than 40,000 are rescued. In our timeline, Britain had just over 40,000 soldiers captured in the entire Battle of France. But after this alternate Dunkirk disaster, that number skyrockets to 240,000. More than half of the troops that left the Isles. And we're not just talking about any regular troops here. These were regulars. Huge difference. You know, trained professionals who could have come home and drilled thousands more, which would eventually be useful to fight the Germans and Italians in Africa, Sicily, eventually Normandy. And
again, the numbers at Dunkirk don't really play that much of a factor, at least in all the research that I have done on World War II. Dunkirk, while it's an amazing story, at the end of the day, doesn't really play that big of a thing in the outcome of the war. Same thing as like Lexington and Concord. Oh, they're great stories, but they don't mean shit to the outcome of the American Revolution. The firing at Fort Sumter, good story, doesn't mean shit to the outcome of the Civil War.
instead, in this alternate timeline, these guys are now POWs. A massive stain on Churchill's record. Additionally,
alright, I'm wondering if he's going to get to it.
with clear skies, even more British warships would find their way to the bottom of the channel. Not enough to make Operation Sea Lion a reality or anything, but enough to add to the horror the British public was already experiencing.
Yeah, there's just one problem. You have the Japanese problem. You have to get Hitler to stop the Japanese from bombing the shit out of Pearl Harbor. FDR was itching to go to war. He was giving Britain all the military aid it could want.
By the end of June, France signs its unconditional surrender. This means that the lowlands join Denmark and Norway in its occupation. France is replaced with Vichy France. Poland is partitioned. Central Europe is under Mustache Man's thumb.
And also, there is no way in hell Hitler does not invade the Soviet Union. Remember, Jews are here. Guess what's also here? Communists.
Spain is ruled by Franco, Italy by Mussolini, and the Swiss are just chillin'. Britain stands alone. And a furious and embarrassed Winston Churchill, who wishes he could say I told you so, hears the deafening cries of fathers, mothers, and brothers who scream, "Bring our boys home." When we look at
they're not going to sue for peace after Dunkirk. If Dunkirk was a complete fucking disaster, if they had captured the entire son of a bitch, Winston Churchill is not suing for peace. That is not going to happen. As you said, he was just elected. He's guaranteed in office for at least a little while. Again, I'm not an expert on British politics. I still think he gives, "We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the land. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be."
military conflicts, what we usually look for are the direct casualties as a result of the battle, often ignoring deaths caused by illnesses, which surpass them in every major conflict, unless it was the Russo-Japanese War. But what also gets equally neglected are the captives. The reality is that captives, especially high-ranking ones, play a huge role, including in World War II. Deaths can be martyred, but knowing a huge portion of men are still overseas, awaiting an uncertain fate, that can cause a lot of political pressure. In our timeline, an equally isolated Britain had only one reason to continue the fight: survival. But what if there was an alternative? What if peace could be made? And
oh god, now you're changing Winston Churchill. Now you're changing the British resolve. The British resolve at the time was not to give up. I know there's dipshit historians that think that there was this thing of, why can't we just make peace with Hitler? The overwhelming historical evidence that I've seen is that the British people were in for a fight.
and also allow for 250,000 Britons to come back home. The miracle of Dunkirk was a huge morale booster, but
Alright, but it... Okay, the problem is, you're assuming Hitler doesn't invade the East, which he would have. Sorry, I'm not seeing any way that Hitler comes out on top. Not to mention, you can't have Japan attack us. Because then Hitler, for whatever idiotic reason, I'm assuming in this timeline, goes to war with us. Because he wants to cut off Britain. We were still bringing in supplies to Britain. Pretty brazenly. We're like, yeah, try it. Your U-boats sink our ships. United States goes to war. You're fucked.
But here, it breaks the slim majority in the British war cabinet. In late May, as France was going down, it spent 2 days in session, during which Lord Halifax made a proposal to, quote, explore German terms of peace. The session was made up of 5 members, 2 of which, Halifax and Chamberlain, voted for, while Churchill, Attlee,
Yeah, the disaster of Munich, nobody liked Neville Chamberlain.
and Greenwood voted against. How hard would it be to imagine that Britain would choose to seek out peace terms? I think in these conditions, that would be very likely, with or
Yeah, and then they just buy time till Germany attacks again. Thank you for your donation.
without Churchill. So in early July 1940, through an intermediary, probably Spain, high-ranking members from both sides could meet in a conference to discuss terms. Mustache Man's promises to the German people were kept to the letter, and he seemed unstoppable. But considering everything we know about him at this stage of his life, he would have probably given Britain soft terms of peace. Nothing like the unconditional surrenders of the lowlands in France. We would probably see war reparations being imposed. Malta and Gibraltar given to Italy.
I'm sorry, but again, this all has to be wrapped up before Japan attacks us. Britain is an island. It can hold out for days.
Italy and Spain respectfully. Special rights over trade could be demanded, especially concerning the Suez, as well as a formal recognition of the Reich's newly gained territories. Finally, a policy of isolationism could be forced upon the British, banning them from aiding any resistance groups or meddling in the affairs of Europe even further. Something which would have dire consequences for Greece and Yugoslavia. So, sorry guys. In return, the British could gain a non-aggression treaty with Germany for, say, like 5 years, and have all their captured soldiers brought back unharmed. Within like 2 months, the entire Western Front is secure, and now Germany could rest easy, or at least focus its entire strength on that Russian bear. Before we turn east, it's important to look back at the exact timeline of events here. In our world, British defiance is followed up with the Battle of Britain, which more or less cripples the Luftwaffe. Between mid-July and late October of 1940, it lost 2,000 aircraft trying to soften up the ground targets and beat out the Royal Air Force. Aircraft can be replaced, but since the battle was fought over British soil, any German pilot who parachuted out of their aircraft would find themselves in hostile territory, on an island. The Allied pilots, on the other hand, could easily be given a bandage, respawn, and join a new match. Ultimately, the loss of its best pilots was deeply felt, and this was a blow from which the German Air Force never really recovered. In the meantime, Italy also wanted a piece of the action, after their failed attempt at aiding Germany against France. So they picked someone their own size, alone, to prove their military prowess. You can imagine how that went. After that disastrous campaign, the Reich stepped in and snowballed through Yugoslavia and Greece between April and June of 1941. Many argued that this side quest delayed the surprise invasion of the Soviet Union, but not really. You see, in order to conduct their operations, the Germans needed to wait for the ground to harden, so at most, they lost like a single month. That being said, the wear and tear on their vehicles and aircraft, the fatigue of their soldiers, and the expenditure of resources did take a toll on the army. Finally, when Germany did invade the Soviets in late June, not during the winter like many believe, it was a massive success. Within 1 month, Brest-Litovsk, Minsk, Riga.
Yeah, not a problem with this.
Lviv, and Smolensk fell. But by the time winter did come, the German advance slowed down, in large part due to the confusing decision to move armored units around, first away from Army Group Center, and then later back to it. More than anything, it was the delay and wear and tear of this maneuver that cost the Germans Leningrad and other strategic targets.
No, it was the Russian winter. And even if they had taken Leningrad, the Germans do not win in the East. Sorry, Germans do not win in the East.
And then by October, good old Uncle Sam in Britain began sending numerous shipments of supplies and equipment, prolonging the fight. The rest is history. But after a disastrous Dunkirk and pieced out Britain, yeah, the timeline's history is kind of different.
I still don't see Britain giving up the fight, but all right, I'll tell you what, I will go into a fictional world. Hitler did not have the resources to conquer Britain. Especially now with the Empire at its back. But, alright, fuck it. Let's say somehow, some way, Churchill is passed out on brandy and cigars, and they get this deal through. Okay. You still don't win!
Right. In the short term, the last stand at Dunkirk means that Germany sustains some extra casualties and obtains slightly less military hardware. But that also means no Battle of Britain, aka the Luftwaffe doesn't get nerfed.
Oh my god, even if they had the entire fucking Luftwaffe, the entire armor division, they do not win in Russia. It's too big to conquer. And Stalin was just fine throwing people into the meat grinder. You don't win this war. You still are...
Additionally, with Britain pledging to not interfere in the continent, Greece and Yugoslavia don't get the valuable aid they received in our timeline. Now, does that mean that Italy would succeed? Obviously not. But it does mean that the invasion of the Balkans starts sooner and ends much quicker. Actually, it's even possible for them, especially Yugoslavia, to go the we're kinda with the Axis but not really route that Bulgaria took. Germany has only one front to worry about, and engages the Soviet Union in early June of 1941. A completely unprepared communist frontline collapses, as the Wehrmacht speedruns through the Eastern Front. For just a moment, I want to highlight what is now called...
This is like saying if we take the East Coast of the United States, we win the war. No, take the East Coast. Take it all the way to the Appalachian Mountains. Guess what? You still got a long slog ahead of you. Not to mention, my dear friend, the Nazis had never even pacified Poland. They were constantly having to send soldiers into the conquered territories that they held. The first, of course, being Poland. How long could the Nazis take? And keep in mind, Nazis didn't accept, like, French citizens into their rank. They didn't accept Polish citizens into their rank. They didn't accept basically anyone else. You either had to be German, Austrian, Czechoslovakian, maybe a couple of other places, to be in the German army. And you're trying to conquer fucking Europe? Again, they never even pacified Poland.
The German-Soviet Air War on June 22nd, 1941, the largest air battle in military history. On one side, you have just over 10,000 Soviet aircraft. On the other, 3,300 German. Now, if you didn't know, Germany won. But try to guess how many aircraft were lost by the Luftwaffe. Don't worry, I'll wait. Whatever you guessed, you're probably wrong, because the real answer is 55. 55 aircraft to the Soviets' 4,000. The preemptive strikes on Soviet airfields, more effective radio systems, superior aircraft, and pilot experience all led to one outcome: total German dominance. Messerschmitts and Junkers patrolled the air and rained fire from above. The Wehrmacht knew exactly where the enemy was, while the Soviets scrambled from one defense line to the next. All of this happened in our timeline, even with the heavy losses at the Battle of Britain. Now imagine what an even stronger Air Force could do. To state the obvious...
It doesn't matter. Have you seen the size of Russia?
right away, do you really think the siege of Leningrad would have lasted over 2 years under these conditions? The mobility of both ground and air forces allows for an even more deadly blitzkrieg. Before the well-known failure at Stalingrad, many couch tacticians are quick to point out the missed opportunities at Leningrad and Moscow, both of which were within Mustache Man's grasp. The extra month, extra munitions, extra aircraft and pilots, and improved organization might not be enough to take out both by the end of 41.
And again, now you're at the end of 41. Hitler has to... If Hitler declares war on us, it's over. There is no way Germany can beat, even if they fucking got Britain on their hands and knees and the Queen sucked Hitler's fucking dick. Does Hitler win World War II?
But at least one of them is surely going down. The next big thing on the agenda is Lend-Lease. Does Roosevelt really just sit back and observe as Germany takes over continental Europe? Well, yeah. No, seriously. What could America really do? Britain was the crucial...
But Germany wasn't what brought us into the fucking war. And we were supporting Germany. Roosevelt was fucking president when the goddamn war started. He was literally giving Britain supplies with literally a note spray painted across a boat. Germany, hit it. I dare you.
Connection to the continent, and even if they did choose to break the treaty with Germany, the aid sent through the Persian Gulf, Arctic, and Pacific would be little too late.
Except the German U-boats were not the superior submarines they once were. Not for nothing. Because do you know how much of our might was utilized in World War II? The USA's? 8%. 8%. That's the might of the United States that went into the war effort in World War II. And we whooped two empires' ass and did it in pretty good fashion. So I'm sorry, but I'm not buying this scenario. I am very sorry. I am not buying this scenario.
History is all about timing, and if one of the three army groups achieved its main goal, that being Leningrad, Moscow, or Stalingrad...
It doesn't matter. Napoleon conquered Moscow! Yeah, look how well that worked out for him!
The fall of the other two would become a lot easier. Hypothetically, let's say Leningrad falls first. That's almost an extra 1 million troops.
Again, you still have Japan. You have to have a scenario where Hitler does not declare war on the U.S. or he gets Japan not to attack Pearl Harbor. Because once we get involved, I don't give a fuck if he did conquer Britain. We're still kicking his ass.
And a ton of hardware now making its way for Moscow. Once Moscow falls, it's off to Stalingrad and the oil fields of the Caucasus. Oh, don't worry.
No, we don't. They were terrible fighters. What fucked the Germans is, I'm sorry. The other thing you can't stop. The Russian winter, which the German soldiers, even if they did it earlier, were horribly ill-equipped for. And they froze to death. Because again, Hitler thought if we capture Moscow, they'll surrender. Stalin is not going to surrender. And the Russian winter is coming. There is no way Hitler achieves victory in the East.
I didn't forget about those oil fields. There is no timeline in which Germany could sustain a prolonged war on multiple fronts, with dangers looming from Britain, Africa, and the East. But in this one hypothetical, the full might of the Wehrmacht and Luftwaffe simply breaks down Stalin within 18 months. As crazy as that sounds, America can supply rebel groups year-round, and it won't make much of a difference.
Yeah, it will. You think Hitler would have stopped with Europe? Really? Hitler had plans to invade the U.S. And eventually the U.S. and Germany would have went to war. And eventually, the secrets of places like Dachau would have been revealed. All right. All right. I've done enough of this. I'm sorry. He has not convinced me that Germany has a chance to win World War II. Hey, anyone wants to give a scenario, I'm more than happy to entertain it, but there isn't a scenario where they win. But I do have a request that I want to get to.
So look, Tulsi Gabbard
Hold up.
humiliating herself now that she's made the So look, Tulsi Gabbard cannot stop humiliating herself now that she's made the
Is that the same feeling you feel when Crystal shoves that strap-on up your ass?
full turn, right? She's on the Trump team. I have no doubt she wants a spot in the Trump administration if he were to win. And so she's out there riding for him hard, trying to get him elected. But her problem is her arguments are complete hack bullshit. That's her problem. She's still like,
Really, Kyle? This the hill you're gonna die on?
to do this thing where she pretends like Trump is anti-war. So let's listen, and then I'll break it down for you in some more specifics.
I don't know. Geez, I have Trump is pro-war. Is that why under Trump we didn't get into any new conflicts? In fact, he ended a bunch of them. And the world over, the world was mostly at peace under Trump. What wars did Donald Trump start, Kyle? Come on, you filthy fucking Jew. Come on. By the way, that's a joke.
A very simple message for my Democrat friends, my independent friends, those who may not be sure about who they're voting for in this election. Dick Cheney has just made the choice very clear. A vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Dick Cheney, the architect of everything that has gone wrong in the Middle East for the last few decades.
All right, I don't want to spend forever with this, so I'm going to speed him up. Exactly. Bush was terrible. Dick Cheney was worse. Barack Obama did nothing but make the country worse. And then Trump made life better. I've been alive for all this, so yeah.
And so it's interesting because if you listen to the New York Times or some of the other mainstream media, they're saying, oh, don't expect much from Kamala Harris in the way of policies and details and plans, and we're not going to know much about what kind of president she's going to be because she doesn't have much time. They're conveniently ignoring the fact that she's been there working in the White House the last 3.5 years alongside Joe Biden. She's been the last one in the room, according to her, as these big decisions are being made. But we look at who she says, her response to the Dick Cheney announcement today was that she was honored to have his endorsement. And we got military veterans in the House. Got a lot of you who probably served in the Middle East like I did. And so it sickened me, Tucker, to read those words today, both from Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and Kamala Harris, because we have people who we care very much about who were killed in those wars because of Dick Cheney. Kamala Harris has told us all we need to know about what kind of commander-in-chief she would be. And I don't know about you, but I would not trust her for a moment with the lives of my brothers and sisters in uniform.
Such hack bullshit. So, all right, let's walk through it. She says, a vote for Kamala is a vote for Dick Cheney. That's what she says. Okay, Tulsi, so a vote for Trump is a vote for Tom Cotton and Mike Pompeo and Lindsey Graham.
Really? Lindsey Graham has pretty much gone against Trump.
And the 47 other neocon warmongers that staffed his administration before and will
Oh my god, are you complaining about fucking warmongers? Look at your fucking party, motherfucker! Fuck you! You little snarling, smug sack of shit!
staff his administration again. Look, we can play this game. You want to play this game? Let's play this game. And guess what? There are more neocon warmongers still with the Republicans and Trump than there are with the Democrats. There are some of the...
No, there's not. Most people on the Republican side want us to get the fuck out of war and worry about ourselves and not have America the world fucking police.
that are with the Democrats, no doubt. More are with the Republicans. So you want to play this game?
More of them are with your fucking party, you stupid fucking jackass!
Or do you want to just have the conversation about policy? Because the conversation about policy is more fruitful and more substantive and more realistic. So let's have that conversation about policy. Do I have problems with Joe Biden's foreign policy? To say the least, I do. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, throw her in there because she's the vice president. Well, let me ask you a question. This, Tulsi, who pretends like she's so principled and she's just a truth teller. Did she give Biden any credit for following through and ending the war in Afghanistan? Actually had the balls to do it, as opposed to Trump, who just virtue signaled about it. Did she give him any credit? One of the things Tulsi ran on when she ran...
Oh my God, this is where I'm going to end this. I can't deal with it. Trump, listen to me, you little peroxided pegging bitch. I don't know if getting pegged by your wife fucks with your tiny little mind. But listen to me closely. Donald Trump created the withdrawal deal. Biden was the one that fucked it up. I'm done. I'm done.